for you. Some of them left, some of them have gone outside. They are just enjoying the weather. So, first thing is getting movies from 2000s. Yes, and that would be movies dot filter and okay, and then we have to get popular movies. They are really popular movies, not movies, but this one dot filter and then for each movie console log movie dot year and then movie dot rating and movie dot words. So what will we get?
Movie. The same, like.
There is a syntax error in line 64.
64. Okay, these are the most voted, like top 7. So similarly we could also do this. I could create a function print movie, okay, and then I could have it here. So I don't want to rewrite it again and again, and then I could just do this, and then let's do this here. And in this case I want to find top rated, and my definition of top rated is that if you have got a rating of more than 8. What do you think will be the output? Which movie will come? The- So we have lot of films which are more than 8, and here is an Indian film. Anyway, let's increase this value to 8.5, and then we have these three, this many. So you see that Dark Knight has good rating, and it was also, it got lot of votes. And then you have this movie, this one, and others. So the objective of this assignment was that if you have an array of some objects and you want to create some summary or something in your app, you can use filter or map or something, and you can add those features. Does it make sense?
So in the sorted way.
It's not sorted, it's filtered.
No, filter array. So it's
They are sorted by name by default. So you see that after filtering, when we print them, they come in the sorted order by name.
That's not us, it's just the API.
It's the API. So original array was sorted in by title.
my question related to the assignment, like we can push the tags in limited results as well.
Yes.
So we just
So you want to do like this, then you can say dot map and then movie and then you want to do this. This, right? So the thing is that even if you are changing these objects in the filtered array, the elements are still referring to the old objects. So when you do map or filter, it does not give you deep copy. It gives you a shallow copy of the array. It means that you have a new array, but the elements, if they are objects, they refer to same place in the memory. So even if I change this here, these objects would be changed forever. So if you go and print these details in this variable also, those movies would have changed. So okay. Backslash n means print a new line. So I wanted a gap of 3 lines, so because I wanted to differentiate. Like you can put anything. That it's just a marker that I know that where to look in the code. There's no rule. So this is promise, and I will just do you have questions about promises? Anyone? Closures. This is something new. And it's in the curriculum, so I will talk about it, but you don't need to use closures very often, and they are not very easy to understand in the first go. So if you don't understand it really well, there's no need to worry. It took me a lot of time to understand personally, but you may be more smart than me, so you may understand it in the first go. So let's call it closures dot js. So we learned about scopes in few weeks back, right? So suppose you have an array called numbers, and it has numbers 2, 5, 8, 13, and you want to add another number to each element in the array. How will you do it? Suppose you want to add 5 in each element. Hmm? Numbers dot map and x plus 5. So you get 7, 10, 13 and 18. And if you have to do it like you want to add 10, then you have to repeat that code, right? So you have to repeat this part. So there is just a difference of 5 and 10 between those two lines. So suppose we wanted to create a factory which would give us a function which would add a number which we wanted to add in a. So I am talking about something like this. So let us say we want to create a new factory. Factory means something which generates lot of things. So this creates an adder which will add something. It takes a number and it can be like this: return n. Okay, so we can get adder 5 equals 5, and if I do, how much will I get? It will add 5 to the number, right? So what I am doing is that in this one I am defining a new function and then I am returning that function. What is the new function which I am defining? It says that if I have something called x, then I want to add n into x and return it. And this n would be whatever you have given to adder factory. So this function here, it has reference to a variable, and then this function called ends. So you get this adder function variable outside like here, but it still remembers the value of n which was given. So this function call has ended, right? When you do this, adder factory has ended and you have a new function, but it remembers that it was created using a value 5. So I can create many adders like this. Like I can add 50, and then I can have 500 with different values, and so this is how it works. I am adding 5, then 50, and then 500. So the magic here is that you return another function from a function, and the returned function has access to the all the scope of the parent function. So this it's an arrow function, so it may be difficult to understand, but let us say it was like this: return x plus n. So this is global scope, right? This is scope A, this is scope B, and this again is scope A, this is a global scope. Okay, so when you call this, here you have value of n, here also you have value of n. Here you don't know what is x because x is defined inside this one, and then you return it. When you return it, this will still remember what was the value of n. So a child function which you are returning, it will remember the scope in which it was defined, even when that scope has been destroyed. When you not destroyed, even when the function call has finished. So if you are doing lot of things like multiplying it by 100 and then doing something else, and you are returning a new function, this function refers to a variable which was in this scope, and it will have access to that one. This is the use of closures, that when you want to have access to something and you want a function to have access to a variable, and that variable should be customizable. So here I want a function which will add something to a given number, and what it will add I want that to be customizable. So that I can create functions which will add 550 or 500, right? Another example which I can give you is that create counter initial value and const counter function increase, then let x equals initial value, and then when you do this, it's going to do x equals plus 1. Or if you say that you want the counter with anyway, let us say when you increase then it's 1, or when you decrease then it reduces, and you want to return a new object with, and there is a function called get, and it returns the value of x. And then I return an object with 3 methods. First method is increase equals increase function, decrease equals decrease, and get equals get. Now I can create a counter. I can say equals 0. I can do that in JavaScript, right? No?
Depends on the version.
Counter equals create counter.
Yes, 6 scan.
So I have a counter. Now I want to counter dot increase. It's a function attached to an object, so I can call it. I'm increasing it 3 times, and then I am doing console.log counter dot get. Then it should return me 3, right? And then if I test it, it returns me 3. And if I go and decrease it, and then again it will return me 2. If I initialize it with a value 5, it would increase 3 times, so it would be 8, and then it would be 7. So here you have 3 functions: increase, decrease, and get. All of them refer to a value called x, which can be changed, and that x is in the scope of create counter. And since all these 3 functions are defined in that context, they have access to a variable called x, which you can change because you have defined it using let. And then you are returning something. So the function call has ended here, right? And when you say increase, 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 it is changing the value of x. So the function call has ended, but this function still knows the value of x. And if you change x here, and if you access x here in dot get, it will know what is the current value of x. So there are these 3 functions which are changing something which was defined during a function call. So this is something called closure. You don't need to use it in your everyday life. So if you don't understand it, it's okay.
In that case, the value of x, for example, if the value we initialize the value 5.
So yeah.
If it will increase,
then it would be 6.
6, and
7.
Then we decrease, it will be take the.
It will be 4.
Yeah. Okay. It will take the initial value.
No. If you decrease, then it will change the value of x by -1.
If you don't call anything, like no increase and no decrease, it's just 5.
Yeah, okay.
Once you call increase, it's gonna take the current value of x, which in this case is 5.
Then the initial value will be changed.
Yeah.
Like it will be.
The initial value is always there. Like now we are only dealing with x actually.
Yeah. Then x will be 8. We call the increase function 3 times, and then value become the 8, and then we call the decrease function. Then
It
value
becomes
will
7.
be 7. So it will take the current value of the x.
Yeah, so whenever you call get, it will return the current value of x. That is the code written here. So closures, you can think of it like memory. So if you implement a counter, counter should have a memory of what is the current count, right? That is the.
What counter is actually this one? It's just this one. So it's just an object. And its memory increase is that function.
Yeah.
It's not visible.
So no one can access the value of x directly. If they want to get the value of x, they can get it using this method. If they want to change the value of x, they can use it using these 2. So x is very safe. You can play with x only using the methods we have defined. So you don't have access to our data directly. So if you say x equals 10 here, it will not affect this x. So like you have.
Yeah, just try to do counter
the data is the private.
Yeah,
That's
it's in a
how.
scope which is closed, which is accessible to only these three things.
That's how you create privacy in JavaScript.
Okay, you don't need to do it. Like, I also don't need to do it in my daily job. It's very rare that I need to write some code where I need to use something like this, closures and everything. And if you need to use closures, like I have explained it, and you can revisit it at that point of time and then learn it. But it's something in JavaScript you can do. You can define functions which will have which can return another function, and that function or object will have access to the value which was passed. Okay,
Yeah.
so now we will talk about the homework which you need to do next week. And what else was there for this week? Okay, you have closure. Cool. You have to again work with movies, and I will change the JSON file. Oh, because he did not have those things. Hmm. Okay, so here there is some assignment which requires you to create a function which would check if a function is divisible by any number or not. So, like, I could implement a divisibility checker factory, and then given a value x with given a number n with which you want to check divisibility, you return given a function x to check if x percentage n equals 0 or not. This is the divisibility, right? If this is, and then you can have like 7, and then you have an array like this.
Random numbers.
Any numbers, anyway, very bad name. So you, you can do this many numbers dot map and then divisible by 7. This function would check if it's divisible by 7 or not, and then what would you get? You can actually filter, get only those which are divisible by 7. So what will you have if I run this in here? Aha. Of course, of course. There is just one number which is divisible by 7.
What would happen if he was using map instead of filter? What would you have? Yeah, and what are the elements of the array? Think about it first.
It will have undefined number for what
Think about it.
Think
Like
that
1
it-
minute. Just take 1 minute.
Let's not undefined instead of all the
No.
just 35.
No. This is an equality check. What does it return? It returns true or false. So you will get true when it's divisible by 7, you will get false otherwise. So there would be just one element in the output array which will have value true, everything else would be false. So instead of doing this, I could just do this directly. Now I have a function generated. I can check all which are divisible by 2, divisible by 1, everything is divisible by 1, 100, some of them are divisible by 100. Okay, it's a fun assignment. I have already solved part of it for you. Maybe I have solved everything for you, but I just wanted to tell you that by using closures you can create very powerful functions which can be very useful. Think, you can generate a function based on user input, right? You can ask your user to paste numbers, type numbers, and then in another input you say that with which number you want to check the divisibility, and then you have defined a factory using closures which returns a new function, and you can use map filter to filter or map. Yes. So please use map and filter.
That's right.
Yeah. If you start thinking in terms of functions, so if you use map, reduce, and filter, it enforces you to think in terms of data, and data is going through some operation, some functions. Like in map, you are operating a function on each element. In filter, also, each element is being processed by a function, and if it returns true or false, then it will be filtered out or included. So this is what you need to do. And what is the next part? In the next part, you have to give each movie a tag: excellent, very good, and good. So average and bad movies are out of picture. And then render all the movies as list, similar to how you were representing GitHub repos in the homework before. Okay, and add an input field and a button to perform search. Use .filter method on arrays to filter on the titles. It means given a user input, you need to, and you, for this you can use a closure. So it can be like this. Actually, you can implement it directly also, or it can be text return movie dot title dot includes text given a movie. So I'm returning a function, and then you could use movies dot filter then it should return La La Land if it was in the okay. This is another use of closures, or you could write it like this. This is one way to do it. Another way to do it would be this is wrong code would be to okay.
The return of the input is always string, even if it's an input. The return of the input, if I select the input value,
Yeah,
so it's always string.
yeah, it's always a string.
How can
How can you convert it to number?
yeah,
So you can use if you know that it's the first thing you should do is that after getting the value you should use dot trim. So it would be like, suppose you have some const input equals document dot query selector and some hashtag input one, and you have value. You can do input dot value dot trim, so it will remove all the white spaces from the beginning and end, and then you use parse end on this one. So an example can be parse end. So if you do this, it works, it trims for you, so there was no need actually. And if you do 5.5, it will return parse int will return 5, but if you do parse float, return 5.5. So anyway, going back to the assignment, so you have to implement a search for title, and you have to use dot filter to implement the search. Then you have to add 4 radio buttons for each tag, all, excellent, very good, and good. Okay, and yes,
another question. To search like sensitivity, like if the user used only lowercase, so I should return.
I will get back.
Lowercase.
I will get back to that. So you have to add 4 buttons on the page, radio buttons, and filter the movies based on tag selected. So if user changes from all to excellent, it should show just those films which are excellent. So you have to make sure that suppose I type the character like THE, and you have a list of films which start with THE or which has THE, or it's like that word in the name, and then I say that show me just those films which are excellent, and then you have to first search with the text and then search with the tag. So if you apply the tag like we did, like I was asking you to do, so if you don't do it like that, then it would be the code would be complex. But if you map first, apply the tag, and then you have, so you get some JSON from the server, you pre-process it, make it ready for your application. Step 1 is pre-processing it, making it ready for your application, and then implementing search on that pre-processed data. So you have tags, you filter on tags, and then filter on the title using the search query, and then you show all the films. The next thing you're asking that how do I search case insensitive search, right? So one way is that suppose you have an string s equals my own string is something, and then you want to see if it includes ASDFF, then it does. But does it include this one? It does not. But if I do dot to lowercase and dot to lowercase on both, what I am searching for and the actual title.
I cannot apply lowercase in the JSON file.
Hmm?
I cannot apply lowercase in the JSON file.
Integers and float?
The JSON file.
You don't double
Move
this.
it to title to lowercase. It doesn't work.
It works. So okay, so I have 10 minutes. I can write some code for you. So I have some movies, okay, top rated and something. I'm going to implement a function which will search on something, and then it would be case insensitive. So function case insensitive search, then query string whatever you're searching for, and then query equals query dot to lowercase dot trim. I want to remove white spaces and in case user has typed, and then I want to return movie dot movie dot title dot to lowercase dot includes value. I'm returning this function, so I'm using closure, okay, and then I search here for movies dot filter, and I want to search for band, and I want to do console dot log. So what do you think I will get? What happened? Yeah. So I got 60, and this one has land in lowercase, and this one has land in lowercase, and here it's an uppercase, lowercase, uppercase. But do you see that this is so clean now? I have implemented a generic function, and I can search for this, I can search for God, and then it will tell me all the films which have God in the title. God is not dead, God and Generals, Godzilla, Godsend, OMG, it's an Indian film anyway. I'm promoting Indian films. So, and then like great, we have 24 films, greatest game ever played. Make sense? Will you guys do complete your homework?
Try.
So display only the movies in the list which match the two filter criterion. Display the average rating of the movies being filtered and displayed. So this sixth one is interesting. If I have searched for, so like in this case I was searching for great, and then I had these different films, and if it says that I am selecting only excellent ones, then you have to filter out everything which is less than 8.5. So you would have this film and then maybe something with 8.7 or something. If nothing is there, so out of this 24, maybe you will have 2 or 3, right? And then from 2 to 3, you have to calculate average rating of the search result. So you have to implement an input text. For search, you have to implement radio buttons. For filtering on those 4 tags, and if it's all, it means you don't need to filter by tag. And then once I type something, you should filter based on 2 criteria and then show average rating of all the films. Questions? And I want you to focus on JavaScript more than HTML. So I want your JavaScript code to be good JavaScript, as in you are using all the concepts. Even if the UI looks ugly, I don't care. I mean, it should be usable. If I type something, hit search, and select those 2-3 things, it should be working. If like for some people, they would be able to implement live search, that as I am typing, it's searching and filtering and everything. Even if it works after clicking on the button, that's okay. But I want your JavaScript code to be good. So focus more on JavaScript, because if you don't learn JavaScript really well and like spend more time on making your UI look cool, then you will have trouble while learning React and Node.js and other things. Because here you are learning JavaScript as a programming language also. It's not just to make your. It's not a Mickey Mouse language. Okay.